So my name's Luke Hussey. I'm currently what's called a delivery lead for the United Kingdom Parliament's Transforming Digital programme, which is in essence trying to make digital more responsive for Westminster. The idea is that it improves customer satisfaction in digital, establishes a transformative digital operating model, replaces our legacy technology, and grows our digital skills and capabilities of everyone in Parliament. But in essence, what it's actually trying to do is just make sure that when the houses, both the House of Commons and House of Lords, need something done to respond to changes in their ways of working, we're able to do it. We've really struggled for quite a long time to be able to be fully responsive, and we're just trying to work at the speed of today and hopefully put ourselves in a position where we can work a little bit more in the future as well. My particular focus is on developing and designing the new digital and data operating model for Parliament, so that when Parliament wants to do something, it can. Prior to joining the programme, I was a clerk in the House of Lords for about 10 years. My roles there included supporting a range of select committees, scrutinising the governments, supporting a number of domestic committees, sort of scrutinising the House administration, working in the legislation office, and providing procedural advice to support members scrutinising the government in what's called our table office, which is the space and office where members table their oral questions, written questions, amendments to motions, and their debates for debate on the floor of the House. I was really closely involved in the House's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, in particular the development of a remote voting solution, and then using technology to kind of convert our office-based and paper-based processes and procedures into something a bit more fit for purpose for the modern day. It's always been a bit of an irony working in an institution such as the House of Lords and how old and ancient its traditions are, and actually it's always taken quite a leading edge on how to modernise itself and how to adapt its procedures for the day, but also how we can get procedure realised through technology as well. I think overall, the main point of what I'd like to make today is that to say not how much we've learnt, not during the actual pandemic where we were just responding, and we did, a good job as many legislatures did, but also in the immediate months since its peak, once things settled down and we were trying to work out what to keep. One of my roles before I joined my current programme was to understand, right, what have we changed? What procedures have got better through the use of technology? And what procedures have we changed and we want to revert back to because there's something about that human element that made them so much better? I mean, anecdotally, when I started working in the table office in 2018, 2019, I was asked to think about two things as priorities for my team. One was to change how we record what we call divisions, which are our votes in the House, and two, how we record attendance. So attendance, all members of the House, they don't get a salary, they receive a daily allowance for attending if they so wish to collect it. And it is an entirely manual process. It was done on a register that gets updated, it gets put through to the finance team, members put through their bids once a month, their claims, and then it goes through that. So many opportunities there to think about how we can digitise that and use technology to make that all a bit more efficient and reduce user error. The way our division system's working, when I first started as a clerk in Parliament, I would have to run when the bells rang, go and stand in a corridor either side of the chamber, and members would file past you. I'd have a big piece of paper with every single member's name on, well, half the alphabet. I used to do A to K for their surname, and would have a felt tip pen, strike their name out if they voted, count up the result manually, go and have to announce that result in the chamber, and then feed it through an enormous scanning machine. The whole process, really cumbersome, and to get the data online for what was quite a simple fact, and people are interested in what people are voting on, would take upwards of sort of 45 minutes. I was then involved in a project just to introduce laptops so we could just get the process of getting this data online much more efficiently. And then during the pandemic, we realized the idea of getting, hundreds of members over the age of 70, all in a kind of corridor closely together, was a bad idea, or inadvisable at least, given the health advice. And we developed a remote voting solution over a matter of weeks, where we developed an app called Peer Hub, where they could get a text saying you need to vote. They could log on, and then they could work out which way they wanted to vote. And it was all done, and it took seconds. Our votes started taking sort of, instead of 16 minutes for a long vote, started taking 3 minutes, and it was instantaneous, the results. Attendances, we started just doing simple things like emailing and putting it into a database for the finance team to pick up straight away, so they got a direct record rather than a paper-based record. These things sound really silly, but 3 years ago, I couldn't have had these conversations with anyone. Since the pandemic, the opportunity to use technology and to help modernize practice and reflect procedure as it was kind of intended has been afforded to us. So we've been able to take that. The key thing to remember is that some of the standing orders and rules in the House of Lords were developed in the 15th and 16th century. They, couldn't possibly appreciate what we're sort of able to do now, and challenging the assumption that just because it's always been done that way is the best way to do it. It's been quite an interesting one. So since the pandemic, where we had this remote voting solution, I was very proud of it. We have been experimenting with how we do divisions and how we actually record that procedure. It was too much for some members. They missed that in-person interaction in the lobbies. They came back and thought it too sterile and too kind of sort of unparliamentary to just vote without really having to interact with anyone, without having to have any pressure from their whips or their ministers about which way to vote, without having to be present on the estate. So we experimented for a year or so with saying, if you vote, you must be in the chamber or next to the chamber as if you were there in person, still using the app we had developed. And they still didn't like that. So instead, we developed a system of using parliamentary passes to record their votes on division stands in each of the lobbies, which the House of Commons has also rolled out. They rolled out before us, and they have gone down a treat. Members really like it. It's got that balance of using technology and sort of maintaining the procedures that they're more familiar with. We tried this 10 years ago when we were first updating the felt tip pen and the big bits of paper, and it was just blocked at every turn. There was no way it could have happened. And now it's seen as the safe option compared to the more radical app we were using. I'm going to run out of time, and sorry, I've been sort of banging on about voting, but I think it's a useful demonstration of how the UK Parliament has worked out how to have this conversation now around how to use technology to sort of modernize itself, but also maintain some of the essence of why the procedure is important. I can talk more about changes we did to oral questions and remote participation, as well as how we sort of digitize other processes if helpful, but I'll pause there.